comments about wanting the mining to shut down temporarily while the leak is solved?
I'm as concerned as anyone about the situation at Vermont Yankee. We've talked about this in some length over the last few weeks. I hope that the source of the tritium leak will be found as quickly as possible, so we can move on and address some other issues there. I think the company needs to be more transparent and keep the public informed about what occurs on a daily basis, which is what our health department is doing through our website. I also believe that we ought not to let emotion overcome science and logic and fact. We ought to let the experts in our health and public service departments and the Agency of Natural Resources and folks at the Nuclear Regulatory Commission do their jobs monitoring the situation at Yankee and make an informed decision. I think Vermonters know that I'm always going to do what's best for the health and safety of the people of our state. And if my experts in state government tell me there's any threat to the public health or safety that requires some more summary action than has been taken, then I'm certainly going to be at the head of the line to recommend it. But at this point, the daily monitoring of the test wells do not suggest any need for that kind of action.
Have you looked into the, I assume you have, but what legal authority does the state have to order a shutdown?
I don't know the answer to that, John. It's a fair question, one that has certainly been asked and speculated about, but I think there's some question about whether the state has the authority to do so. But a governor can certainly ask the Nuclear Regulatory Commission to take action if he or she believes it appropriate.
But under the normal, police powers of the state of Vermont through the health department, could we not say this is, at some point, if it is a public health risk, say, in order to protect the public under our authority, we the state, not the federal government, wanting to shut down.
Well,
demanded.
The health department obviously has some authority. The Agency of Natural Resources has some authority in terms of contamination of soil and groundwater. But we have the extra element of federal regulatory authority in the case of the nuclear power plant. And I'm not sure that question has been fully explored or answered. I hope that it doesn't come to that. If there is any concern of the power agencies that would warrant that level of discussion, then we'll certainly have it and should resolve regulatory and jurisdictional questions.
So what does some authority mean?
Well, the Agency of Natural Resources has some pretty significant authority over groundwater and soils and prohibiting contamination there. They exercise it regularly, as you may know.
Through the courts, they have to stop order.
That's right, an assurance of discontinuance or a settlement of some kind with polluters in various circumstances. So they're quite active in that area.
So could that shut the plant down?
I don't know the answer to that because of the federal jurisdiction that's in play.
So are you seeking that answer?
We're not anywhere near the point where there's concern of that magnitude. Our health department continues to monitor the drinking water in the area and the sampling from the test wells that have been drilled, and DPS and ANR are on the scene continually as well. If there's a concern that rises to the point of risk to the public health and safety, then we'll get all the agency heads and lawyers together and resolve the process.
But if the day comes when there's water found in the drinking well, that's not necessarily the day you're going to want to go. Do we have the authority to do anything about that?
Well, that's the day we're going to work to resolve it.
Right, but wouldn't you want to know the answer to that question beforehand?
Well, I think it's important to, maybe you can all chat with Commissioner Davis afterward if you want to. It's important to understand, and I think some other experts have talked about this. I'm not suggesting I'm an expert, some have talked about the amount of tritium that would need to be consumed in order to pose a risk to human health, and it's quite substantial over a tremendous period of time. Others can explain to you the nature of the isotope and how it's not as serious a threat as some other radioactive isotopes are, and give you a greater understanding of the risk level. So if it turns up in a drinking water well, that's clearly an indication that we need to take some additional steps, but it probably is not such an imminent threat to the public safety that we need to have the answer right away.
In terms of, but there's also discharges going into the environment that may not be affecting the health, but are certainly affecting the environment, and are apparently not permitted under A&R permits. Is that a concern? I mean, are you looking into whether there are permit violations here, since they don't, I think, have a permit to discharge tritium into the Connecticut River?
Well, then we get into the federal jurisdictional question again, and whether that's necessary or not. I don't know the answer to that, John. But A&R is on the scene. If there's a violation that warrants some enforcement action, I'm sure they'll let me know. And we do have, in terms of tritium concentration, legal standards that would also trigger a response by the health department, and we're not looking at quantities that would get to that point.
Have you been in touch with your counterparts in New Hampshire and Massachusetts who have expressed concern about the tritium leak?
I talked with Governor Lynch a couple of days ago. We've talked about Yankee in the past, frankly, but we chatted this week, and he expressed his concern, understandably, about the impact on the Connecticut River, which, as he noted, is a New Hampshire waterway. And I take that very seriously, too, as some have noted the dilution of tritium upon entering the river. It has, and we don't know that it has, negates substantially any imminent threat because of the speed and extent of the dilution. But I have talked with Governor Lynch about it.
Are you convinced or persuaded some tritium is entering?
No, I don't know that. Some have speculated that because of the slope of the land and the proximity to the river that it's possible, but I haven't heard if that's happened for sure.
There are new Entergy personnel in the state this week. Have they done, you've said before you'll know if when you see it, that they've made changes that would satisfy the people of Vermont. Have you seen it yet?
I don't think I've seen enough. I don't think the state ought to prescribe the specific organizational structure of a company, but we need to see the results. We need to see greater transparency. We need to see the company providing information on a regular basis about what's happening there, responding to all of your questions as they come up. I think we still have a ways to go to get to the point where Vermonters' confidence and trust are restored.
So more specifically on that, would you expect them to have a daily update like the health department does, or what do you mean by their greater transparency?
I would recommend that.
And the fact that they're not doing it is what you mean when you say that?
I think a daily update similar to what the health department is providing would be a good step.